Thank you very much. It's wonderful to see such a great turnout tonight. I ask the same question almost every screening, so I'm just curious. How many people have never seen Dracula on a theater screen? Oh my, most of them. Well then, you know already you're in for a special experience tonight. And it's to TCM's great credit that though they are a television network, they too appreciate how special it is to do this, and I think we can't thank them enough for putting on this festival for the third year in a row. And as for introducing this movie, well, what is there to say? We can say this much: it was made 82 years ago. Am I getting that right? And there is only one surviving cast member who's here to tell the tale, and that is our extraordinarily special guest. Please give a warm welcome to Carla Laemmle. Carla, we're all delighted that you're here tonight.
Well, I'm delighted to be here.
Let's make sure your microphone is on. 1 minute. Now it's on. And I just said, and you just said you're delighted to be here too.
Yes, I am.
Now, before we get on to the main subject tonight, a friend just told me something I'd like to ask you about.
All right.
He says you have a recollection of your parents showing you a headline, a newspaper headline, 100 years ago, about the Titanic sinking.
Yes.
You remember that?
Yes, I do. And it was at that age even, I mean, I was horribly shocking to me.
Sure. But you were just 2 years old.
I don't care. I mean, I knew what living and dying was.
Yes.
And I mean, death has always had that pretty strong effect on me.
Sure, of course. And this is before, obviously before television, but it's even before radio. Remember that, you know. And so, a newspaper headline was, you know, had real importance. That was the breaking news.
Oh, tremendous, and the lives that were lost.
Yes, of course.
I mean, such a tragedy.
I know. And we've never gotten over that shock, have we? That's why we're still so fascinated.
No, it's just really as strong as it was.
Yeah. And it was 100 years ago tonight. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing?
Oh, that is amazing.
You've witnessed an awful lot, haven't you, Carla?
I certainly have in 102 years.
Yeah. Now, Carla Laemmle, the founder of Universal Pictures, and of course Universal is celebrating its 100th anniversary this year, and the founder, the famous founder, was Carla Laemmle. And he was known popularly as Uncle Carl, but he really was your Uncle Carl.
He really was. Yes, indeed.
It's amazing.
What was he like? What can you tell us about him?
Oh, he was a wonderful man, and very lovable, and people respected him so much. And they really had love for him.
Mhm.
And he knew almost everyone on the lot, and he would always greet them, and he was a very special man.
And obviously that's why they called him Uncle Carl, because they
That's
had
right.
that feeling
He
about
was
him.
Uncle Carl to everybody on the lot.
Now, you had another unusual vantage point, because you actually lived on the studio grounds, didn't you?
Yes.
Tell us about that. What
Well,
was the situation?
there were two little bungalows on the studio ground, an enormous lawn that covered almost 2 blocks. It was huge, and then these little bungalows, and we moved into one of them. And one of the bungalow that we moved into was just a little bit adjacent to what it was called New York Street. The setting of New York Street, which was, for me, I enjoyed going over there and pretending, I was going to New York, to the stores there.
You had the best playground in the world then.
I certainly did, to say nothing of the zoo in the back lot, with every type of animal, including a very talented camel. And it was about 1.5 miles to the front lot where we were, and it would make that little traipse up the highway to this huge lawn and start grazing on this beautiful ripe lawn, And I'd look out the window, and there was the camel grazing away. And he was very tame, he or she, I never examined that. But anyway, I would take out a little bowl of oatmeal, and I would lure it into one of the garages, and then leave it there, and then it would continue eating, and then I would go in the house and call the back lot and tell them that I had the camel, and then they'd please come up and pick him up. I don't know.
So they maintained the zoo so that they had like animals for use in any kind of movie that might come along?
Oh, yes, they had quite an extensive zoo with every animal. Including, at one time they had 2 elephants and giraffes, and as I said, the giraffe used to come up and graze on the lawn.
Amazing.
And it was a fairyland to me.
I can only imagine. I can only imagine for a child in particular.
It was just wonderful.
And it was called Universal City because it really was kind of like a self-contained city, wasn't it, in many ways?
Oh, it was. It was a city. Yeah.
Had its own fire department, police department.
Yeah, and a hospital, and everything that a city has, it had, and more.
And more, yes, because it had all make-believe, all the
Yeah.
movie-making magic and make-believe.
Right.
When did you first set foot on screen? When did that happen, and how did that come about? Do you remember? When you got your first chance to be in a movie?
Well, I believe, I would think I was 14 years old, and they were doing Phantom of the Opera. And I was, from early on, I had ballet lessons. I was a ballet dancer. And so I was the ballerina in Phantom of the Opera. And that was my first experience before the camera.
Well, that's not a bad start, is it? And did you get to meet Lon Chaney?
Unfortunately, that never worked out, that I never did. I had the opportunity of seeing him perform, though. And also the one scene where he was climbing down the church.
Oh, and the Hunchback?
Yes. And, I mean, that was a big thrill to do that.
Sure.
He was so athletic and so agile and so gifted in so many different ways. And it was a very special privilege that I had, because I had the run of the lot, and I could go to the back lot anytime, all the stages, and so.
And then they built that amazing replica of Notre Dame right there on the back lot.
Oh, yes, that was fabulous.
That must have been.
Just wonderful.
So now sound comes along, and Universal takes the plunge into horror movies, and Dracula is being made. How did you happen to be cast at the opening scene of Dracula?
Well, that's a mystery to me. They called me from the casting office, and I don't know how it happened. It was a wonderful miracle for me. I loved it. They said, go down to the casting office and get, you can pick out the outfit you wanted, which I did. Just walked over to the casting office, and so I picked out this rather crazy little hat, and glasses, and I appeared pretty naive and a little bit dumb, but that was my character.
And you'll see her right at the beginning of the picture. She's one of the passengers, for those of you who don't know,
one of the passengers.
in this coach that's being taken to Transylvania, to the Count's hideaway. Now, were you really in a coach, or was that make-believe too?
No, it was a real coach.
But when they did the interior shot of the coach, did they, they have to have a camera, they couldn't fit a camera in a real coach. So I understand they had to kind of jiggle the little set that you were on.
Well, they had a couple of men from the office. No, well, not the office, the business office, but they managed to give the illusion of the coach moving by wriggling the wheels, and that just worked fine. And everything worked out like that.
As we'll be reminded when we see it in just a few minutes.
Yeah, right.
So was this just a lark for you, or did you hope to be an actress or become a full-time actress?
Well, I always wanted to act anyway, although I was brought up to be a ballet dancer. And, but acting and, well, they seem to go together. Anyway, I loved doing both, and I enjoyed Dracula especially. I was supposed to be the secretary of one of the passengers, and actually I had this little booklet that was describing the scenes where we were passing through and the place where we were headed. And I was reading from this little manuscript.
They call that method acting, I think.
I got the method.
You got the method. And does it please you that people still not only remember, of course, and see and revisit these films, but I'm sure you get fan mail all the time and people who want to talk to you.
You wouldn't believe it. All these years, I get fan mail from far-off places that you never even heard of, And I'm so flattered about it, and it's quite a thrill, to get all this mail, that they remember.
Well, you're a link to this piece of movie history. You know, you're a living link for us. And
Yes.
I know it may not seem that special to you because it's your life, you live this life.
Yes.
But, you know, for us, you help bring it back.
But it's so wonderful that Dracula is still such a success.
Yes, of course.
You know?
Of course. Well, it's a film that will never go away. It will,
No, it
will always
will
be
never
revived.
go away.
Mhm. And I think I can speak for everybody here. I'll take that liberty in saying that it's a privilege to have you here as our guest tonight, Carla. Thank you so much.